the PSVR2 thing. I thought this was kind of interesting because it really brings the question: has Sony already just given up on this thing, just like they did the last one? Because as of now, apparently, per report, Sony has already pulled back funding on the PSVR2, and there's as of now only 2 first-party games in active development. That's it. Nothing else is even in concept.
Yeah, this is a weird one because also, like, I don't expect in the VR space for the first party games to be like the big. It's weird to say I don't expect first party games to be big flagship games for VR. I expect the kind of smaller teams to be able to kind of take up that role because they're going to be more willing to kind of experiment and try to fully utilize the VR in a fun way. Whereas I think some like first party games that try to use it, sometimes it's. I mean, we've seen good VR games come out, but also we see the ones that are kind of. We also just want to make it about a franchise and just give you VR elements.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I'm not too surprised.
Neither am I.
Because it's like, hell, we don't ever really get in VR segments there at any of these showcases.
Yeah.
They don't, they're just.
I feel like we did when it first came out, and they pulled back on it heavy.
Yeah, because they were
trying to push.
They were trying to just push it, and they were just showing us like small nothing games.
Yeah.
Or it's like something that looked interesting, but I mean, not enough to buy the VR setup.
Yeah.
And it's like, you've only got two first party games right now. Well, you're supposed to. It's like take those, make them look really good, so that someone buys the VR set.
Yeah, someone actually wants to buy it. I will say another aspect that I think is them just trying to push the mindset of please buy this shit is just recently. I think it was like maybe a month ago. I don't think I included it in a weekly wrap up because this has mostly been out of my window. I don't really give a shit, is they recently have put on like full PC support. So someone can buy this and use this on their PC setup.
I think we mentioned it briefly.
We might have. I don't remember because I know for the most part PSVR2 is mostly off our radar. Yeah. So I don't know if we ever mentioned that news, but it was like a month ago. So like when I saw that and now I see this report, it really just tells me they're just asking. It's like, there's like this thing has bombed in sales probably, and them doing the PC collaboration, all the connectivity and everything is trying to push just please buy this shit.
Yeah. I mean, it's the weird space of trying to you want to get into the VR space, but also you want to only you want to put it on your console and just develop straightly for your console. It's like, yeah, you could do that, or restrict people from being able to use it on PC.
Yeah.
But if you give it to them, if you give them, they should have started with it having PC access.
Yeah.
Because then you'd have had people who were like, okay, well, I'll buy this because I can use it for my PC. And also, if a good PlayStation VR game comes out, I can just move my setup over to it, or I can move my setup, like my PlayStation, to this setup and be good to go immediately.
Yeah.
But I feel like you kind of missed a window there.
I agree. And you're 100% right because the thing is I've watched some tech reviews on it and stuff like that of content creators who bought it. It's apparently a really solid piece of tech. It's just that it's been so limited, only being on the PlayStation. Yeah,
it's like, yeah. I mean, the VR space. I mean,
it's still growing.
It's still growing, but also realistically, it's a PC space right now.
Yeah,
it's like you're still working on. Granted, you've been working on it for like a decade at this point, or maybe more.
Yep,
but. On the PC side, it's been going for longer, and there's way more availability to be able to work on it for that space.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's one of those where when they went to PSVR2, they should have just immediately had PC support with it.
I agree. Just because that would have helped push it. Because again, it's a solid piece of hardware. And the weird thing about with where VR is that with it being still so young is with what our expectations are kind of VR thanks to media, right? Of what it, I guess of what it should be and where it can go is the better way to put it. we still don't really have like that game that would like entice people to want to get a VR. Like the most notable VR game, as far as I know, is probably Half-Life Alyx, which was a lot of people claim to be like that should have been a Game of the Year nominee, and people don't even talk about it today.
It's the only one that was even close to coming to my mind of like,
Yep.
This is the direction VR should be going in.
Yes.
But I mean, you kind of got to look at it that way now still, and it's like that's several years old at this point.
Yeah, and I also want to stress. This: the games that are currently on VR, I'm not calling them dog shit. Like, there's a lot of like like smaller games, or like let's say ports, or let's say like a Resident Evil 4 or whatever.
But there's a difference between a port.
Like they're fine though, but it's still not your flagships.
There's a difference between a game put in VR and a Game of the Year made for VR.
Correct. I do agree to that. Like I just want to stress, I'm not dogging every game that's ever come out to VR. There's some obviously some fun games, but there's nothing that's pushing the hardware on any front.
You can take a Game of the Year winner and adapt it to VR. But if you make a Game of the Year contender for VR, that's going to be a completely different experience and a completely different game.
Yeah.
That then has the potential to be, here is why everyone should be buying VR. Mm-hmm. And I feel like I agree. We're still waiting on that. Half-Life Alyx was the closest we've gotten.
Yeah, I agree.
And I feel like that sold a lot of VR sets.
Yeah, no, it 100% did. Like I said, there's still some fun games. Like I see some TikTok content of one game. I don't know what it is, but it's just like a big, almost like a sandbox sort of game where like the dude is playing as Spider-Man and he's like literally swinging around and like pulling people off a bridge and shit and killing. I was like, it looks fun, like that looks like fun to swing around like that, but it's not fun enough. It's not making me want to go buy a VR headset. You know what I mean? Yeah. It's one of those things that once the game comes that makes me want to buy a VR headset. I'll play it then. Yeah. But I'm not going out to get a VR headset for like VR chat room or whatever game it was called. I don't remember.
Yeah. Well, that's like I was mentioning earlier. It's like, I mean, you can have your first part of game. You can have your big titles that are supposed to sell it. But what's going to sustain people are the smaller games.
Yeah.
The smaller, quick jump in, jump out, have fun for 15 minutes games.
Yep.
It's like that's. I mean, hell, at the end of the day, that's what most of us end up playing.
Yeah, true. But I mean, it's not surprising to hear that Sony's probably backed off funding. Yeah. I mean, it makes me question: are we even going to see a PSVR 3? Like, it makes me question: is that even going to happen?
It could potentially happen. It could be that. I mean, it could be that they're kind of learning that people don't want to buy it just for this.
Yeah.
It's like maybe it could be the thing where they're like, we'll try one more time, and this time give them the option to use it on PC everywhere. Give them the option to use it everywhere, and maybe people will actually like be more interested in buying it.
Right. Yeah, I agree.
Because like you said, they've got good tech. Mm-hmm. It's like they've got the solid tech for it. They've just got no reason to buy it.
Yeah, facts. Hopefully, also they'll just go back into the handheld market too. Still gonna hold out hope for that one.
Oh, we'll get one.
We better. I want one. I want one.